As Nigeria joins the rest of the world in celebrating this year's World Food Day, the nation's First Lady, Olorami Tinubu, has reminded citizens of their responsibility in ensuring food security. In a message commemorating the day, Mrs. Tinubu expressed optimism that Nigeria will attain food security. She used the opportunity to advise families to ensure that they eat nutritious food and reduce food waste. Today, as the world marks World Food Day with the theme Hand in Hand for Better Food and a Better Future, we are reminded that food security is a shared responsibility. The future we want, one free from hunger and malnutrition, is within our reach, but it requires every one of us to work together to transform our food system. It calls for partnership that promotes sustainable agriculture, reduce food waste, and ensure every family in Nigeria has access to nutrition and affordable food. She said, that's quoting the First Lady. Now, gentlemen and lady, very, very welcome to the program. I have Abdulkader Ibrahim Daya. He's the National President, National Association of Sorghum Producers, Processors and Marketers of Nigeria. A very good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning to you too.
All right. We also have Jumai Hassan, who is a dietitian. Good morning, Mama. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Sorry I had to change your routine this morning.
Thank you. It's fine.
All right. So let me start from you, the dietitian. When you hear World Food Day, what is it that comes to your mind?
When we're discussing World Food Day for even a lay person, he knows his food. And when you think of food, the diversification of food is very important. The diversity of the food means for you to get all the necessary nutrients in your plate. At first, let me start with having a good food from the farm, from the farm to the plate. When you're getting a good food or a right food from the farm to the plate, it involves the production itself, the transportation itself, the preservation, down to the household, and we in the house to prepare it. For you to have a good food, you have to have a diversity. Thus, all the necessary nutrients has to be inclusive in your plate. Thank you.
Okay. And when you say all-inclusive food in your plate, if you're talking to the man on the street, the average Nigerian who only eats to survive, this would only sound as English.
Correct. When you say all the necessary nutrients in your plate, it means if he cannot afford, if it is only corn he can afford, okay, tell me, you can eat corn with groundnut. If it is garden egg he can afford, eat garden egg with groundnut. At least you are giving him diversity, because if you look at the corn is carbohydrate, the garden egg is a what? Vegetable, or we put it as a food, while the groundnut is what? Is a low biological value protein. So the food is diversified. It has all the combination.
Okay, so let me come to the farmer in the house. Let's go to food itself. Does the world has food today as we speak? With all the displacement, with all the crises, with all the, the climate change?
Okay. The answer is yes, and the answer is no.
So which one do we start from, the yes or the no?
We start with the yes.
Okay.
The yes is there is the means, and there is the capacity, and there is the possibility for food to be produced on large quantity everywhere in the world. The no is the priority of most government in the world is not about food. Let me give you instances. Like in our country, Nigeria, we have arable land, more especially in the northern part of this country, that you can produce more than the requirement of what the populace needs to feed itself. But you can see that at the same time, agriculture is still practiced on subsistence level, not on commercial level. All the foods you eat in Nigeria today are being produced by subsistence farmers on smaller scale and with low technology. technologies. When Hajia is defining what is food, I just hold myself, I almost burst into laughter. Because even myself, as I sit here, I eat what I see, not what I want.
Why?
Why? That's what I can afford.
So it's all about affordability.
Well, it's not about the affordability. Yes, it's about affordability.
I mean, today's reality.
About affordability and not about affordability. If there is food in excess, there will be glut. It will force the price down.
So, but let me ask you, do we have food in excess? That was my first question. You said yes and no.
You don't have food, let alone having it in excess.
So we don't have food as we speak today.
You don't have food.
Okay.
So let alone having it in excess, you don't have food. When you say you have food, just like what Hajia said, you have a balanced diet. When you have a plate in front of you, all the necessary nutrients is being contained and you eat. And you find healthy people. But when you manage to find scraps and eat, you can't say that you have food, let alone the food being in excess. Now, let me come on this side. We, the producers, right, we're finding it very, very difficult and challenging to produce in a country like Nigeria. Now, for example, if you go to the villages where most of our members are, where they produce, you find issue of insecurity, issue of banditry, coupled with inflation, high cost of inputs, cost of transportation, no roads to move the little you produce. All these challenges, I can go on and on and on.
But these are challenges that have been with us for a very long time. I grew up hearing these challenges, and I'm sure you also grew up hearing the challenges. But we'll come to those challenges. Let me come to the dietitian in the house. He just talked about no food. You can't even be talking about
having a balanced diet.
You don't even have adequate food. So does that make your work very challenging, because you have a population? You see that when you look at us, the two of us, or you look at people on the screen, you know that this one is malnourished, in a way, because when they say food is balanced, it must have vitamins and protein and carbohydrate and all of that. And today we only eat, to survive. Does that make your work very challenging, that people can't get the right nutrients when it comes to food because food is not available?
Yeah, it is challenging, but at the same time, that is why we encourage this home gardening and school gardening, because at a time you cannot even access to, you cannot access like onions. There are some seasons that some vegetables or some fruits that are seasonal. You understand? Like tomato in few months back, it was very expensive, unlike today. Onions was the same. You understand? But when we trying to curtail malnutrition, definitely we have to eat right for we to have a diversified, well-nourished food. But in the situation that we are in now, every home is food insecure. We are in the food security stage, whereby the accessibility is not there, availability is not there, affordability is not there. Then the last one is sustainability. It's not there. So for me and you and other people, other Nigerians, is what we see we eat. But all the same, we still have to manage and do it right. We use locally available food. In those days, our parents, our grandparents, we use the locally available, and they are still very healthy and well strong, and they are never malnourished. Why are we malnourished? We can still practice the same.
Is it that there's a disconnect between awareness, and the people themselves? Because I know, and for most people, even my guest, our second guest, was asking you to recommend a diet for him, that he wakes up this morning eating his tuwo. Is it tuwo? And then you now ask that he's a big man, he's not supposed to be eating the tuwo in the morning. He's supposed to be taking his cup of coffee with some fruits by the side. But this is the African mentality who will say you have to eat a whole bowl of carbohydrate filled with carbohydrate food for you to be able to sustain you energy-wise.
Well, as I'm saying, when you are eating, depending on what you have in the house, no matter what you have, you can still augment. If it is that dawa, 2 dawa that you have, which soup are you doing? Like back north, miyan kuka, right? If it is miyan kuka, then you now add what? The dawa and what? Beans inside. Beans is the protein. The dawa is there. Then the miyan kuka, it has so much calcium. The percentage of calcium in kuka is very high.
So are you saying that 2 dawa with miyan kuka is very nutritious? It's balanced.
It is adequate.
It's balanced.
We don't say balanced, as adequate. It is adequate.
What's the difference between adequate and balanced?
When we say balance, as if they are all on the same ratio.
Okay.
But when we say adequate, the proportion is there. We are talking of portion size.
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
So we don't say balance.
So when book people like us see people eating miyan kuka, it is
okay.
It is adequate.
If it is, that's what you have in your house. But the only thing, try to modify it.
Okay.
Modification is very, very important.
So how do you modify it?
Yes, as I said,
Put beans,
you put beans, you put the dawa, you put everything.
And put my shanu if you have.
If you have, yes. Why not? So their food is adequate.
Okay.
And it's still okay for you. Then you can eat it. That's it.
Okay. All right.
Then we now have we used to have fruits and vegetable seasoners, like garden egg. Everywhere you see garden egg. Even if it is 100 naira on, we can buy 100 naira and share within the house. Even if it is one bowl, everybody can have it. You have eaten vegetable because you need definitely fiber in the system every day. If you cannot afford fruit, because some people say fruit is a luxury, you understand? And it's true, they are expensive. Then if you cannot take fruit, you can take garden egg. We have carrots. Cucumber is all over. You understand? It's something you can buy just a tuber of and slice it for everybody to take a portion. It's enough. So you have eaten all the parts of the food that we needed, the nutrients.
Okay. So let me move to you, the big time farmer. Who is shortchanging, the small farmer on the farm? Is it you, the big guys who do the portfolio farming, or the government that has refused to, put in the right measures?
Okay, let me correct your words by using the government refused to put the measures. Each and every government has its own policy. And when you say shortchanging the smallholder farmer, it's not about issue of shortchanging the smallholder farmer. Everywhere in the world, if you go, agriculture is being subsidized by the government. It has been the norm world over. From time immemorial, people have been practicing agriculture on a subsistence level. And with the advent of technology, agriculture has been improved and it has been turned into business. The most unfortunate thing is most governments in their policy programs, they don't include agriculture as business. You see, government creates enabling environment while we, the stakeholders, practice agriculture. When you see government starts venturing into practicing agriculture, that's a misplaced priority. So we are not shortchanging the smallholder farmer, but it's policy from government. Now, if the government said, okay, I will supply fertilizer, okay, I will supply input. You see, in anything you do, you involve what we call stakeholders. Now, if this were to be a political program, myself and my colleague, we wouldn't be sitting down here because we are not politicians. We are not stakeholder in politics. But it involves what we practice. That's why we are here.
No, but when I asked you, I said, could it be government policies that have refused to address?
Yes.
You said you don't agree with
Yes,
me. Here you are saying that the government has refused to subsidize agriculture. You also say there is no stakeholder involvement. Someone is to be blamed for all of that.
When you say refuse, right? I have my phone, or your phone is with me, give me my, I said, I am not giving. It's a matter of policy. It's a matter of policy. Some policies are favorable to agriculture. Some policies are not favorable to agriculture.
Okay, let me give you an instance. During the late President Buhari, of late memory, of blessed memory, he came up with the Anchor Borrower scheme, all meant, to improve the lot of farmers. At the end of the day, the poor farmers, I don't think up to 30% of them were able to access that fund. Big people like you who formed associations, who formed cooperatives, it's very easy for people like you to go to your villages and to get your, farmers in your community and tell them that, okay, because we are the book people, we are the people that are close to government, you quickly form an association, you get access to the fund, and that fund doesn't trickle down. So at the end of the day, you only use them to get money from government, and that is why government policies becomes a problem. Anchor Borrower, 30% of the small farmers did not access that money. It was the big time farmers that accessed the money, and as we speak today, the big people have also refused to pay that money back.
Well, to some extent, I agree with you. To some extent, I disagree with you. Let me tell you, the commodity associations access Anchor Borrower funds, and farmers directly benefited. Okay, you see, in any program you do, you have to have a level to which you measure. During COVID-19, there was a total lockdown, and there has never been a problem of hunger for the past 2 weeks. You know what? The performance of Anchor Borrower, due to the activities of commodity association, which money was able to reach the hands of the smallholder farm. And I can authoritatively tell you now that the level of repayment from commodity association is about 52%. I don't know of other politicians or other people that access the Anchor Borrower loan, but with the commodity association, and I am an authority, and I can tell you the records are there. The farmers have benefit. I think first in the history of this country that there has been a government intervention which the poor farmer in the village benefited is the Anchor Borrower program. So back to what I said, policy. So
what was that policy?
Muhammad Buhari's government of blessed memory has a policy which created Anchor Borrower program which favored the farmer. Now, your argument is some politicians were able to access this fund and they refuse to pay. The government of the day now will bank on, there was an Anchor Borrower program, funds were released, some people access this fund, and it refused to go down to the common farmer, so we are not doing Anchor Borrower. So it's two sides of the coin, right? He who wants to fly must first learn how to crawl and walk. You start schooling from nursery to secondary school, then to university, you acquire your degree, your doctorate degree.
In the face of emergencies, hunger emergencies,
Yes.
you are talking about learning how to walk, learning how to crawl,
Yes.
learning how to run.
Yes.
People do not have time for that.
Yes.
And that is why, but I'm going to come back to, to that in the course of the discussion. But let me tell you, for the first time in our lives, many of us, we started eating Nigerian made rice in 2016, 2017.
Yes.
And we're very happy that we're eating our own rice.
Yes.
All thanks to late Muhammad Buhari and his Anchor, Borrower, policy. But along the line, the same farmers the same big farmers like you from the cabal and started making food very expensive, and people are now saying, why will a Nigerian made rice cost 30,000? From 30,000 it costs 40 something. Today it is 70,000 naira, and the argument is, government refused to subsidize agriculture, fertilizer is very expensive, farm input, and these are the arguments that we'll get. And today the government has decided to say, okay, because of what you have caused, the scarcity and the high prices of food, they decided to come up with import waivers.
Okay. Let me say this. Why is it that it's only the farmer that is at the receiving end of every Nigerian? There are many facets of activity of life that culminate as being into a nation existing. You are a journalist. So whenever there is a misrepresentation or a misreporting, I started blaming you, not the origin or the source of the information that gives you false report.
What is the first report?
I'm coming.
That food was not hoarded?
I am coming.
No, I need you to clear it.
Yeah, that's why
that food was not hoarded? That food is not expensive?
I am coming.
That middlemen didn't pack all the food and store it somewhere?
I am coming. I'm not saying no to all this. I never say.
So then why are you blaming me?
These are activities that happen in every part of the world. We are human beings. Everybody playing his own role, seeing how he can maneuver, outsmart one another and live. But as government, if you want to make people, or you want to bring succor to the general people, you don't play mind games or blame games. What is happening? Now, if you say you import food from other nations, you are taking jobs away from your own country to that country. Mind you, the money you use in buying this food is being generated in your own country. Instead of you to empower your own people, let me tell you, in life, even in your own house as the husband and with your wife and children, you give orders, you give directives, and they are being violated. What do? You divorce your wife? You sack everybody from the house? No. As the head of the house, okay, I've given this directive and the wife refused, okay. So what measures do I take? You think out of the box, but not saying, okay, this is what happened. Yes, hoarding has been there from the beginning of life. People will buy if there is excess, they will hold. When the price go up, they sell and they make profit out of it. How can government curtail this from happening?
Okay, so we'll come to that. And when we come to the dietitian, I'm sure you've been quiet listening to the fire exchanges and all of that. But for you, what is paramount is to have availability of food, affordability, and to get food that is nutritious so that you don't have more patients, coming to the hospital due to lack of. Some of the illness are not just tied to illness, they are tied to lack of nutrition, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay. So if you are going to be talking to the farmers right now, you're telling them, what kind of food will you tell them to produce?
Well,
to make your work much more easier.
Left to me, they should produce everything if it is possible. Everything. But in a situation where they cannot produce everything, then we, in our own household, we should try to do home gardening and produce something.
In a city like Abuja, where houses are very expensive, people have to get small, small corners, to stay, or small houses. Where will they get garden?
Well, okay, then they should, definitely they can buy it in the market. They can buy some things in the market.
And plant one.
They can buy in the market since they don't have the environment or the space to do the planting or to do the gardening. You understand? But that is the first thing I just make mention, using locally available food. We should bring ourselves very low, you understand, in such that to curtail malnutrition. If you have locally available food, that's not how you can get malnourished. The only thing I know is ignorance. There is no awareness. You don't know what I want to do.
To be blamed for the lack of awareness. We should blame you.
We have been advocating. We've been advocating on what to eat to curtail malnutrition. You understand? Let's have a what? Zero hunger. Let's have a free hunger-free country. You understand? And when we have that, definitely there will be no malnutrition. And if you are using the locally available food and how to mix it, you understand the modification of what you have in your house or in your plate, definitely it will curtail malnutrition. So my plea here is, if at all the person cannot have access to anything, that accessibility is a problem. Or you have it, and sometimes we can access, you can afford it.
So you're talking to a household that is, I don't want to use the word poor because it's very demeaning, but if you're talking to a household that is average, and you're telling them what is the necessary food that they should have in their house, that they can, one, yes, they eat to survive, but at the same time, they have nutrition.
When you have grains, when you have legumes, you don't have to have beef, animal products. You don't have to have animal because it's very expensive, right? But when you have legumes, you have grains, it's enough. Because if you look at grain, the composition of grain, it has calorie, it has protein, it has potassium, it has little iron. Then when you look at legumes can be beans, can be seed, can be nuts. So you can alternate. You can do kunugera. It's rich. You can do pate with beans, with granite. So it's well adequate. So I believe when you have
But this thing that I'm mentioning, beans, granite, they're not expensive in the market. He's laughing. It's not expensive. It's not something that you can buy for
it's cheaper than the beef I'm talking about. It's cheaper because how much is a kilo of meat? How much is a kilo of chicken or fish? They are more expensive than the legumes. So if you can afford the legumes, I know it's accessible and it's affordable. So you can manage. In fact, you can even purchase a cup. They sell a cup, picnic container. They do sell it. So if you can afford that cup, you can manage for 2 days, 3 days before you get something. Yes,
3 or 5, 1 cup of beans.
If you want it, it's not that you are buying just that cup. You understand? You want if you buy a noodle, buy a half noodle of that. At least how many cups is in that noodle? It's about 9 cups. So 9 cups will be enough for you for at least 2 to 3 days.
Okay. Mix it with
rice, mix it with yam, or with sweet potato. Or sometimes you mix it with corn. You boil corn with beans. You do it enough.
Okay.
The only thing is how you do it.
Okay.
And you do it, you prepare it in such a way that the nutrients are not leached out. Yes, that's it.
Okay. So Mama is looking at you and saying maybe that's a diet too. That you can explore. Because he's talking about a new diet. So that you will eat umami, we will eat beans and corn. But let's come back to food itself and farming. Government policies over the years they've never been sustained. They've never been sustained. And then it now requires people like you and many others who are into the value chain to force them to say, look, we need to continue on this path if we want to have, a successful agriculture. In other times, they tell you the people who feed the country are just 15%.
Not up to 15.
Not up to 15. Not everybody has to be a farmer. Not everybody has to be a processor. Not everybody has to be a marketer. But some few percentage with the adequate policy and the input.
You see, agriculture is the most difficult business you venture into.
Why?
Good. Most of the factors of production you don't control. Yes. It is now with the advent of technology. We do dry season farming while you can do irrigation. And I am amazed sometimes when people look at farmers and see them as if
You can perform magic?
thank you very much for using this word. This is somebody who hardly can read or write. You are thinking of bringing technologies that has been invented by doctors and professors over a long period of time for him to assimilate and practice within a short period of time. Yes, they are magicians when they are doing magic. Because for the average farmer, he cannot tell you hectare or acres, but he will tell you how many steps. It's enough for you to convert is the size of his farm. He can tell you planting period. He can tell you diseases. But the problem with him is the best agronomic practices. That's why he's losing out. And practicing farming as a business rather as a hobby or a tradition which he inherited from his forefathers.
But let me jump in here. How do we make farming a profitable business for the small farmer?
Thank you very much. For the small farmer to practice farming and make profit out of it, there has to be an intervention from government. You see, the worst hit with inflation in any economy is the farmer, because the purchasing power of the currency dies down, the cost of the inputs moves off, he has to produce, he has his family to sustain. Just look at what is happening now. All costs of inputs are high, but the price of produce are low because of inputs. I know a lot of my members that have abandoned their farms because what it will cost you to harvest this farm, the cost of this more than the cost of the produce you are going to harvest. So why should you waste that resources you hold on to? These are part of policies of government that doesn't relate. Had it been the government work with the stakeholder, we tell them, okay, instead of importing, let me tell you, you don't get things done overnight. It has to be a gradual process. Like China, before they become the world #1 global economy, they have suffered for how many years? They locked their border, they locked their economy. It's just like a child who is trying to walk. He will stand up and fall, but he will persist until he perfects. One day you will see him hopping on one leg.
This is the country where I don't see farmers protest, holding government accountable. We have seen protests in India where farmers were on the streets for weeks and they forced, the government of the day, their own government of the day, to succumb to what they wanted. Is it that here we've not been able to galvanize, farmers, especially big farmers like you and many others, have not been able to galvanize farmers to know their right? Because everybody just sees the small farmer who has not been able to produce enough food. Nobody sees his challenges, like you rightly point out. Nobody sees his cries, nobody sees his losses, but nobody also galvanizes him and brings him on board. We've had Farmers Association, we've had this association, we've had that association. We are not seeing a collective voice, because I don't see why a government will go for importation when we have arable land, we have the manpower, we have the resources. My late Mohammed even came up with this fertilizer, blending plants for us to be able to have fertilizers that are being produced here. The Dangote refinery or the Dangote group, they also have their own fertilizer company. Why haven't we been able to tap into all of this to help our farmers?
Okay, let me tell you this. Everywhere in the world, most developed countries like India, you said, all the Farmers Association have a single voice where they speak. In Nigeria today, you have the Rice Farmers Association, you have the Maize Farmers Association, the Sorghum Farmers Association, soya beans, poultry, all different associations, each independent of one another.
So, but why is it so? Can't we have a collective umbrella, all under the name of All Farmers Association?
There is a collective umbrella which is the All Farmers Association.
And so why is it not speaking for farmers?
The same association is also in disarray.
Why?
It's only getting its feet now.
Why is it in disarray?
Leadership tussle.
Okay, so why are we not blaming the president? The governors and the ministers, if as associations we can't even organize ourselves.
Okay, if only as a government I can give waiver for some few individuals to import. If I have the wherewithal to do that, I can force the commodity association to come under that umbrella to produce for my country. I'm the government.
So you want the government to force you people?
I don't say the government should force. You are saying that if we can't, so why are we blaming the government for importing? So if the government so wish for the commodity association to, okay, it's just like siblings in the same house. This one is fighting that one is fighting this one. As the mother, you call them to order. Hey, you stop. You don't do that. But when you allow it to continue, it will degenerate to a level that it will affect you as the mother or the father in the house.
What is the bone of contention most times? Is it about who gets the largest share?
No, you see, human beings sometimes. I want to be this, I want to be that. We allow our personal interest to override the general interest of well-being of the people. You see, even during the political era, we tend to vote people that are our favorites, not necessarily the right people that will do the
So the sentiment even followed us to the family.
we are human beings, all of us, and all of us are Nigerians. So some attitudes, you cannot exonerate some group of people and say it only affects a certain group of people. We are all human beings. We are tend to behave in a similar way in a particular position. As farmers, we are trying our best to produce, but what you cannot do is okay. There are specific rules that I follow to come to this office. If I decide to fly, I need a helicopter or a hovercraft, which I don't have. So I have to follow that route to come here. So if we live in a country whereby this is what the government of the day wants, you as group of individuals cannot change, more especially if you don't have one voice, just like you've mentioned. Had it been the farmers have a voice in this country where they can face the government and say, okay, this is what
Isn't it high time farmers need to have one voice to challenge government policies? It's very, very unfair that the government will just wake up one day and decide to introduce importation, something we left some years back that has brought us dignity, that has brought us jobs, that has brought us income. And today we have maize stored in Kano, the imported maize, where nobody's even buying. Even for poultry feed is not, is not right for consumption for even the poultry. So why won't we, how long will it take us to have one voice to challenge government policy?
Well,
As farmers.
as leadership of farmers in Nigeria,
How united is your own organization?
not my own organization.
No, your own association. How united is it? Let's start from the charity beginning.
100%.
100%.
As I sit here today,
Okay.
right?
How many members do you have?
No, let me bring you up to speed. As I sit here today, we have had national elections, which brought me into the help of affairs. And this month, we are conducting election in all the states of the Federation under my association. We are done with about 18 states, and some states are going this Saturday, and we are going down to the local government. This is how most of the commodity associations are. They are restructuring. Some have already restructured, because you cannot point at the federal government and say you are doing wrong while you did not put your house in order. If only you say, okay, I am the president of the commodity association and I'm appointing everybody, that's wrong. Those people that you are challenging in power go to that office through election. They were elected. People put their trust on them. So you do, you test your popularity, you make sure your house is in order, you have proper structure from the state, from the federal, the state, down to the local government. Now when you restructure or put your structures in right place, you bring all the commodity association under one umbrella. This is what we are trying to do. All commodity associations should go under AFAN, All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Now we can speak with one voice, because when AFAN speaks, it's all the commodity association that is speaking, not like before when AFAN itself is not structured. You have
How much authority does AFAM hold on associations like you?
It's not issue of authority, it's issue of the representative.
Or acceptability? Right.
The representative.
Okay.
Because my association is a legal entity.
Okay. But you're answerable to AFAM.
Registered with Corporate Affairs Commission, right? What you said, all Farmers Association, all the associations coming under one umbrella.
That's not exactly what I'm saying now. So an AFAM has one president.
One president.
And so that president can bring everybody together.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And he has not been able to bring all of you together. Because all of you are claiming legal entity.
No.
And it doesn't show that.
No,
that's just what the problem is.
No.
We'll come to that. Let me come to the doctor. When you hear associations in this area, farmers in this area, no food in the market, the reason why some countries fought war is because of hunger. And we know that many countries, France, and many other European countries, even in Africa, cost of bread in Sudan is what brought them to where they are and today. And we are saying that for me, it shouldn't get to that level. But hunger is what drives people to do so many unthinkable things. How do you explain to people that today you are buying a loaf of bread for a slice of bread for 1,800, 2,000, in some places 3,000? Bread that used to be, a very affordable, they call it the Nigerian cake. If you can't afford the normal cake, a bread will, sustain you. As somebody who is into, nutrition and all of that, does it give you a kind of fear and heartbreak that the people who are producing food are also in this area?
Well, in terms of nutrition, or in terms of what we found ourselves here in Nigeria, bread, to me, it shouldn't have reached to that stage. Why bread? You understand? Why bread? I feel...
I'm going to give you an example. Something that used to be very affordable, before now.
Now it's not affordable. It's not only bread. So many things is not. They are not affordable. So many things. Because that is why we have food security in Nigeria. Food security. Food, you cannot, because sometimes the money is not there. Or sometimes you can afford, but you cannot access it. You understand? But it's not only, let's say, the scenario of this thing, onions and tomato. You understand?
Yes.
They are very expensive. You have the money, but you cannot afford. You can afford, but you cannot access it. You understand? But now it's accessible. Everywhere you can access it. Even if it is 200, 500, you can access it. But the only thing is for the key point here is for you to have what? A well adequate diet. Using the small locally available food, just using the one you can afford, or what is being brought to the house, because it's not everybody that goes out to also to get it. If the man brought everything that the man brings to the house, you just try to manage. You understand? But what you are doing, you as a cook or as the mother of the house, or as a woman in the house, what you do is, no matter how little it is, just try to make a nutritious meal. Nutritious meal is
when you listen to people who will say, somebody who walks to your office and you tell him, look, you are over diet, you need to eat vegetables, you need to eat fruits for you to be healthy, for you to reduce your weight, and the person is looking at it, what exactly is this woman saying? I eat 5 wraps of fufu or samo in a day. Now you're telling me to cut to one myself. Okay, you're telling me put more vegetable. And then somebody who eats maybe one small wrap and he has like beef filled in his plate. And then I tell you, no, you need just about 2 pieces or no beef at all. The vegetables will help you.
This is all about awareness.
No, but you've seen those kind of things. I can't even reduce it.
That is when you have a patient. Definitely the first thing is the rapport between you and the patient. You bring your understanding to his level.
Okay.
Yeah, that is number one.
Okay.
Because definitely the father is there, you have seen his education background, you have seen his history, you understand. So when he comes in, you look at you read through the history. After reading the history, now you bring your brain to his own understanding. This is what I like and dislike. That is number one aspect you said. And when you start telling you, this is what I want, this is what I... Okay, now that you don't have it available, what do? Okay, sometimes I stay without it. You stay without it, but you have alternative. You have some things that, that's...
I'm talking about the one that has, but he doesn't want to cut down.
Yeah, when you have, definitely he will be ill. If you look at the phone that
you say, madam, I can't cut down on my protein or my carbohydrate.
Okay, if you cannot, can you change your lifestyle by doing exercise? 1. 2, can you change your eating habits and the timing? You can do it to convince him. You understand? Stop eating late. In fact, we started discussing with the president.
Yes.
Yeah.
The president who eats,
Yes, I told him.
who eats 12 hours, 12 midnight.
Yes, I told him to stop eating late. I told him to stop eating late.
Okay.
Because
When you say late, what is the time that you stop eating?
7, 8 p.m.
That's you.
Anything after 8.
Of us eat 11.
Anything after 8 is late. Because if actually you're going
Like I eat like food now.
yeah, you can eat cucumber. When you are starving, if you are starving, definitely you can eat like cucumber, you can take tea.
Okay, I can't eat indomie.
Well, indomie is not a food.
I can't fry egg and eat by 12.
You are on your own.
Okay, but let's be a bit more, decisive here. Is it about the quantity of food that you eat or about the quality? Because for some people, if you tell them just eat this little things and it's enough to sustain you. But because here in Africa, we're used to eating heap.
Yes.
And then you tell that person, no, this is dangerous for your health. Is it dangerous for you to eat, large quantity of food?
You see, comes to this. We have this a plate. This is a round cycle. We call it my plate.
My plate.
And this my plate, when you look at it, it's a cycle. So what you do is half of that plate, if it is possible, let it just be vegetable. Then that other half, you divide it into 2. The half will be protein and the other half will be what? The main food.
Carbohydrate.
It could be main food. It could be mixed carbohydrate and rice and beans.
Okay.
You understand? Even with this, it has carbohydrate. So the quarter will be what? The main food. The other quarter will be beef or fish or any of the animal products. You understand? It could be plant product. It could be awara. You are depending on what you have. Then the other half should be what? Just vegetable. That is my plate. Portion control is very, very important.
Okay, portion control.
Portion control is very, very vital.
So how many wraps do we eat? Should we eat?
How many? At first, we understand. If you take, you should know how many kilocalories you are expected to take a day.
Okay, how many kilocalories?
Yes.
Okay.
How many calories? Yes. How many calories are you expecting to take? Because you have recommended daily allowance.
Okay, so what is the calorie?
Depending on your age and your size.
Okay. So a small size like me?
For you eat less. I know you eat a lot.
I don't eat.
You sure?
Yes.
Alright.
That's where my own problem is.
Okay, but you crave. You are a picky eater.
Yes, I'm a picky
eater. So picky eaters, they're still okay.
Okay.
You will never see my malnourished and picky eating person. Because he picks everything and he eats.
Yes.
So before the time of lunch, you are already full. You might not
Sometimes I even forget that I'm not picking.
Because you are a picky eater.
Sometimes I don't even eat anything. Maybe if I just take my cup of coffee, I don't even remember that I've not eaten lunch about 5 in the evening or even 6.
But eating late is not really good. It's not good.
So for big people like president, how many calories should he take a day?
I want to know his age. Then I calculate his calorie.
Okay. Let's say it's between he's from 50 upward.
Let's say 2005, 2008 calorie. 2000. Yeah, 2000. Let's say 2000 calorie for him. Everything inclusive. The protein is in the whole day. Okay. You understand? So if that
you shouldn't eat 2 to mommy in the morning.
Let him eat because it's filling and it's satisfying. It's better you eat it in the morning than eating it late.
Okay.
Then in the evening he will go for his meal, just vegetable. He can take his salad.
Okay.
Or he can take his fruit.
Okay.
And he has addiction of coffee. Yes. Definitely it's going to add to it.
Yes.
So you see,
we all have addiction of coffee.
Oh, that's nice. Then you now do your what? Exercise. Exercise could be daily. It could be any other day. You understand? Depending on the time we have. Because if you look at it, he's a hustle person. Because he's a real hustler. So I don't know. I'm sure that hustle is enough for him to have an exercise.
President, you say you are hustling. Are you hustling?
Yes, no.
Okay, and you have not slimmed down. The hustle is contributing to the fat. Now
What stress do to people?
Sometimes yes.
But for some people, it shrinks them.
Some, depending on their physiological status and hormonal status.
Okay.
Some people shrink when they are in stress, and some people expand.
Okay.
They increase in size.
So it means you have to continue the hustle for it to be continued.
No, what we want him now is we have to start.
Because he's the president. If he shrinks too much, he will not be respected in his association.
No, but he has to change his lifestyle.
Okay.
You just have to change his
Stop eating too much to...
No problem. He's going to meet me in the hospital.
Okay, for a week. Alright, so as we wind down, let's go to this year's theme, where the theme of this year is, joining hands together, to secure a future of food. What do you make of that theme? And when you hear the president's wife saying in her own message that Nigeria will attain food security, and she's advising families to ensure that they eat nutritious food and reduce food waste, because I'm going to come about how do we reduce food waste. But does that message resonate with you? When you hear the president, whose husband gave import duties, who allowed importation, and here she is, we will attain food security, and she's asking for collective effort. Is that a disconnect?
Women or wives are the custodian of the society. And the way their brains are wired is different from the way our brains are wired. That is her own take, and that is what she is expecting. She's not a politician. The husband is, and he's the head. Yes, her message makes sense that we should try and see how we can bring all the actors together and attain food security, and how we can feed our country. Is making sense and is sending a message. But to us, the stakeholders, here is the wife of the president, who happens to be the first lady of our country, encouraging us on how we can feed our country. And the other side, the first lady, number one citizen is giving waivers that food should be imported. He feels, if you face with situation, you have immediate, short-term and long-term measures you take. Maybe to him, he feels the immediate way
in order to drive down inflation,
that food will be available if you import. But at the same time, you cannot live in a global village and you think independent. What is happening in the world today? There are wars being fought all over the world. But there are some countries that are fanning the embers of war. When you ignore it and you continue importing, when there is war and there is no movement on the high sea, what do you eat in your country? At least the government should take this into cognizance. Look, why can't we diversify? We find a way of immediately producing what we can eat, even if it means for just a year.
But the policy of the APC is, let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. That was the slogan the late president came up with, and we all keyed into. So at what point are we now leaving, the party is leaving that and saying importation is going to save situation? But that is that's one side of the other side of the coin. Is he's also frustrated with farmers who have, big farmers like you, who have formed a cabal, who have caused artificial food price in the market, and who have made Nigerians go through hell in terms of buying food. So he feels the only way you will break your back is to import food. But food importation generally is very destructive. One, you don't get food with the nutrition that you want because you don't know how they are being preserved health-wise. It has its own huge challenges, but it's also, that's one side of it, because when this we had a lot of food in the country, there was still scarcity because the farmers were selling the product across the borders. They found that if they sell to Niger, to Cameroon, to Chad, all these francophone countries, their currency is a bit higher and they make more for money. And I'm sure it's the same big farmers like you who organize that trade across the border. And so even at that point, we still had scarcity of food, because you ask a bag of corn going for 17, 18, in some places even 90,000 naira, and you ask, what is wrong here? Don't say I'm attacking you.
You're not attacking me. Let me start from the bottom to the top.
have just few minutes to go.
Yes. When you say farmers are selling across the
African countries, yeah.
You see, the government has to come up with Ministry of Humanitarian. And human being doesn't render humanitarian services. Human being explore and they conquer. If I know why,
Must be
I'm coming. If I know why I can sell my produce
at the expense of your own people.
Okay, so what happened to the government that did not come up with policy that
To regulate your trade.
not regulate, that will give power to the currency so that it can buy more with just little? You don't blame the farmer for selling across the border, because before I know the whole of Africa, there's no currency as strong as the naira. Yes, no country as strong as. But now our borders, the francophones that use CFA, the CFA is far much stronger, and that's what they feel. Let me tell you before, they move from the francophone countries into Nigeria to come and sell their produce and their livestock. But now reverse is the case. They are taking livestock and produce from Nigeria to sell in these countries because they make more money. Is it the farmers that are doing that are fault, or is it the government? You see, everybody has a fault in this, because the government is not different from the people. They are the same Nigerians. People, the only thing is that they are the ones at the helm of affairs. But everybody has his own contribution, what is doing wrong. What the farmer is doing, I'm not supporting. Because you don't take from your country and export where the country is hungry. You don't do that.
Okay, so doctor, how do we prevent food waste? In some very big homes, very rich homes, you find their refuse being filled, with food. Because the area where they stay, there are no people you can call to give. Sometimes some people don't even give their, guard. And even when they give their guard, they still have plenty of food. So how do we curtail food waste? Here are people who can't afford a meal a day. Here are people who waste food.
Well, I think there is need for awareness, nutrition education. You
are responsible to do that awareness.
In our homes, in every home.
Okay.
In every home.
Okay.
It's not the government, it's not the nutritionist, in every home. Because I know the men are the head, but at least the women too can do it. You understand? In every home, when we are ready to cook, there should be quantification. Quantification is very important. You know the quantity. If you do 1 meal today, it's not enough. Tomorrow, definitely you add 2 cups to it. So there will be no waste. You understand? And how do you preserve your things? When you purchase from the market, preservation is always key. Because when you don't preserve them, there will be waste. You end up throwing everything into garbage. You understand? So that nutrition education or ignorance should go off everybody. You understand? Because if you do waste tomorrow, you don't even have the money you don't afford. But for those of some that can afford, they can still buy, they should do quantification. They should measure, they should know the quantity they are cooking so that to avoid waste.
Okay. For those of us who burn food when we cook most times. Yes.
Oh, you burn food.
Because one sense of smell, so
you reduce the degree of heat, you understand, and be constantly be checking.
Okay.
You can do it without burning food.
Okay.
You can. It doesn't have to be. It's not a matter of sense of smell. No. When you know the quantity of water you added, you know in 5 minutes it's going to simmer. It's going to finish. It's going to dry off. You'll be there, and the heat, the temperature you regulate your temperature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. And so big time farmer. Today the farmer is faced with here climate change, here GMO. How does the farmer wriggle himself, or the farming community wriggle themselves out of this huge challenge in 1 minute? GMO on one side,
the farmer is in between the devil and the policy. Right. The level of awareness the farmer cannot take GMO seeds. And
But let's even get it correctly. A GMO is really bad.
yeah,
Okay.
but they are bad.
Okay.
And on the other hand, climate change, which is caused by industrializations and growing up of cities and then deforestation, the arid regions, desertification, so on and so forth. Some of the challenges is beyond the capacity of the ordinary farmer. I think we as the leadership of the farmers need to create awareness for our farmers. One, to have good seeds that are not genetically modified. Number two, we should liaise with NEMET so that we will have a proper cropping calendar when the seasons will come, when the season will be off, when there's going to be drought, when there's going to be flood, so that we will educate our farmers to a level that they can avert losses on their farms. Like recently what happened, most farmers plant early and the rain stopped
In the middle of it.
and they experience drought. They replant and there was flood.
I'm sorry, in some places, in some countries, they dig these very big reservoirs in farming communities that collects, the rainfall.
That's dams.
Not the conventional dam, just like they create these reservoirs, they dig this massive hole, just to collect the water in their communities. And then so that if there is any stop somewhere, they can now use it. So what happens to this kind of education? I grew up hearing shifting cultivation. That when you farm here today and tomorrow you move. Simple farming techniques that have helped farmers for decades.
This cultivation we are talking about, is the nutrients in the
soil,
and with the advent of technology with fertilizer, you don't need shifting cultivation.
But even the fertilizers are wreaking havoc, especially the chemical fertilizers. We don't have organic.
Let me tell you one major problem that farmers are facing. You see, you can have 10, 15, 20 hectares of farm, but you don't know which ecological zone this your farm falls into.
Okay.
You need experts to advise you on that. You can have 10 hectares of farm, 2 hectares or 3 hectares are within a different ecological zone, but you don't know. So you do same farm within your farm. So you do same farm preparation, apply the same seeds, fertilizer, everything. You see, part of the farm is doing well, the other farm is not doing well. So there is reason for soil testing. You have to test the soil, what type of seed, because different ecological zone with different soil type, with different requirement of nutrient and different type of seeds to be grown. So this needs massive education, and
who is supposed to embark on this massive education?
The government has to come into it, because you need extension services to educate the farmers. The community association does not have these resources to educate all of the farmers in this country.
How much resources will they need?
You see, with some state governments, they have these ADPs, where they have extension service providers who are on the payroll of government. They go and they provide these services to farmers free of charge. But with the numbers of farmers we are having, these are not adequate. And let me tell you, these farmers are not a peculiar set of people that, I'm a farmer. Even you can become a farmer, because that's the only profession that the civil service know around civil servants to venture in farming. So anybody that has a piece of land that grows any particular type of crop is a farmer. So they need education.
So we're all farmers.
Everybody is a farmer.
That is
Even
not
the
true.
doctor is my farmer.
She's a farmer. If only she can
But she has a garden behind her.
she's a farmer.
Yes.
You too, you are a farmer.
I'm a farmer, yes.
If you rear chicken or goat, you are a farmer.
Yes.
You know what type of farming you're doing. So just like we need to go to school to become educated, farmers need to be educated and need to be updated. Like this issue of climate change. Most farmers, if you are telling them climate change, global warming, they don't seem to adhere.
They're speaking for a John Greek.
I am telling you, but when reality hits in, they start saying,
But can't it also start from associations? So that people like your association, my own association, my own association,
trying
can
to-
educate our own people.
We are
To say
trying
if
to-
you are a sorghum farmer, there are certain times, if there are certain places sorghum will not grow, there are certain number of time that you can't, there are places you can't plant and all of that. Can't we start from association?
we are trying our best and we are doing
But your
that.
best is not enough.
Yes, our best cannot be enough, but we are trying.
Okay. Doctor, in 30 seconds, what would you advise Nigerians with lack of food, what do you call it, high cost of food? In all of this, where is the middle ground?
We are all Nigerians. And we all live home. So we all live in our home. And we all eat. So my personal advice is we should try and manage the resources we have. We should manage the locally available things we have around us. We should not look at it as if we can do without it. No, because some of us cannot afford and we cannot access it. But the local things we have around us, we should do the needful, we should use it, we should utilize it. If we can do farming in around our houses, garden, it has been in our advocate everywhere. Do just school gardening also and home gardening. Do it so that you don't have to go to the market to buy tomato. All these small grains, you can do it if you have a little. In fact, you don't have to get a land. Even if you live in an apartment, use plastic. Yes, use plastic buckets. Use wraps. Use so many things to do. So you don't have to get a land or a space before you plant your vegetable. So let's do the needful. You don't have to be rushing to the market every now and then to buy vegetable. We can also produce it. So, and apart from producing it, some of let's do the best thing we can do to have a nutritious meal on our table. Let what we are eating be nutritious, even though we don't know how these things are being produced. We will buy it from or purchase it from the market. But let's do the needful. When you are cooking, you should not mix the raw food with the cooked food or the dry food with it, because there is contamination also. Yes, sometimes you drop the meat here and you just lift it and put it here, and then you now use here and bring vegetable here. There is cross contamination. So we try to avoid all these things. You understand?
So we have to put them
Separately.
And then when we put it in the pot, you just take and put it.
Yes, you just do it. But we don't, when they are low, you now mix it up. There is cross contamination. So when you are preparing it, you should try and prepare it in such a best cooking method so that you will preserve all the nutrients. And when you are eating, you know you are eating something nutritious.
Okay, I'm sure someday we'll call you here to give us cooking techniques so that we won't start eating contaminated food even before we even cook it. Dr. Jumai Hassan, thank you very much for being part of the program. And the National President Association of Sorghum Producers, Processors, Marketers of Nigeria, Abdulkadir Ibrahim Gaya. It's a pleasure having you around. I'm sorry for stressing you even with the IOP. But don't worry, I'll pay your fee for the consultancy. So that when next we see you, you'll be trimmed.
Alright. I just want you to be healthy. When you do the interim, definitely let it be. Let it be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for those eating tuwoni and kuka, it is healthy. You should not be ashamed of the
That's
fact.
what I do eat it.
Okay.
We do eat it.
As breakfast.
No,
You say at breakfast, that's what I'm saying.
You can do the mommy now. You can
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can eat it.
There's nothing wrong with
There is nothing wrong. Because if you eat heavy,
Yeah.
they said eat as a king in the morning,
Okay.
then as a beggar in the night.
Okay.
Yes, so
And then as a prince in the afternoon. Okay, as a pauper in the night. Alright, gentlemen, lady, thank you for your time. And that's the show from me, Medina Azaki, and the whole team here. It's bye for now.